You're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast, brought to you by MartinClinic.com. During the episode, the doctors share a lot of information. As awesome as the info may be, it is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. It's strictly for informational purposes.
This is Dr. Martin Sr., and once again, going to be solo today I think you will find this topic rather interesting. And I think, again, that we are on number 197 in terms of numbering podcasts. So today I want to talk to you about the new Meatless Craze. That's what I'm going to call it, the new Meatless Craze. Now, what I've been noticing, especially in the last few months, is that all the big chains in Canada and the United States are coming out what we call meat substitutes. Now listen, I do not want to offend my vegetarian or vegan friends, and that's fine. If you want to do that, you know the way I think, and at the Martin Clinic, I work with thousands of vegetarians and thousands of vegans on a yearly basis. But I tell them the truth. I got a PhD in clinical nutrition, so I'm always talking about the science of food, okay? But what bothers me is this meatless craze, and that is where the food industry, they're not stupid. The food industry, they are in it for primarily not to make you healthy guys, but to feed you. And they're in it for follow the money. Okay, so just understand that I do question their motives of the food industry, because it has nothing to do with science, and it certainly has nothing to do with your health. As a matter of fact, I believe that what the big chains are coming out with today, and this meatless burgers and meatless sausages and meatless plant-based substitutes for meat, by the way, is a craze. And the reason I say that is because you should avoid these like the plague. These are made in the laboratory foods. Listen, meat is meat and plants are plants. And if you know me and you know my history and you know the way that we think at the Martin Clinic, we are big proponents of two kingdoms. You have the animal kingdom and you have the plant kingdom. And I believe that, I'm a believer, so I'm just going to tell you that. I'm a big believer in God. I'm a big believer in the Bible. And I believe that we have been given both kingdoms to eat, the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. And as a scientist, as a food scientist, I know that to be true, because there are certain things that are found in the animal kingdom that are not in the plant kingdom. I'll get to that in a minute, but I really want to talk to you about these highly industrialized meat substitutes that you should avoid like the plague. There's nothing good in it. When you look at it, and you think about why these are coming out. Now, there's a lot of, especially in the younger generation, the climate is important to them, animals are important to them, and I get it, okay? So I try not to be a dinosaur, even though in technology, this is why when I fly solo doing these podcasts, Dr. Martin Sr., my son is, I call a genius in technology. It's amazing to me how he was always interested in it, even as a kid, even when the first computers came out. And Tony Jr., Doc Jr., he's an expert at it. It's like he could have worked for Steve Jobs. He could have worked for and got ahead and was way ahead of the curve, when you look at all these companies of computers and whatever. But I'm ignorant, guys. I'm ignorant. But I try and keep up to date on what's happening in the world. And I really look at trends, and I'm very interested in what's happening in the psychology of young people. I'm fascinated by it. And you know what? I want to be a doctor that is on top of things. So I see a huge trend today in vegetarianism and veganism. Okay? I don't agree with it necessarily, but I understand it. Okay? So I'm not from another planet. Okay? I really understand it, and I trying to be very understanding. And I get a lot of, I get especially young girls come in, and, they primarily came in because they got major hormonal issues, either bad periods and their menses is all over the place, and they got acne and whatever, and I'm talking to them about hormones. But I never let a patient leave my office without talking about food. I never do it. Okay? So I just want you to know, if you ever come to see me, you are going to get a sermon on food. Okay? And if I find out, and I usually know within 5 seconds, that someone is a vegetarian or a vegan, and they're doing it they think it's science, but they do it more for their belief system, I get it. Okay, so I understand they're being taught, the climate is changing. We got to take care of our environment. And, you love animals, and animals are number one on the hit parade. And so we shouldn't eat animals. And, I had a young girl in my office not long ago said to me, "Doc, I don't eat anything with eyes." Okay. So if they have eyeballs, I don't eat it. And okay, I get it. But for heaven's sakes, I'm not against you living on plants, okay? I don't agree with it, but I'm going to tell you what to do about it, and you need to understand you need to substitute, you need to take supplements, and you got no choice. So if you decide to be a vegetarian or you decide to be a vegan, you need to be on supplements the rest of your life. It's just as simple as that. Don't fool yourself. That's just the truth. But when it comes to these meat substitutes, I can't stand it because they're made in the lab. You don't grow a meat substitute in the field. They are terrible foods. They are, because a lot of people today, and rightfully so, the food is GMO, it's GMO, right? It's genetically modified wheat and but you know what, guys? At least it's grown in the field. Wheat is still grown in the field. But when you have meat substitutes, it's grown in the lab. These are industrialized. You could run your car on them. Oils, seed oils, canola oil, and whatever. And they're industrialized. They are very, very high in carbohydrate. And not all protein, guys, not all protein. I know you get protein from the plant kingdom, but not all protein is the same. So 20 grams of protein in the plant kingdom is not equivalent to 20 grams of protein in the animal kingdom. They're not the same thing, because the animal protein science facts is much more bioavailable. Your cells love that protein that comes from the animal kingdom. So listen, this is why I try, and if I can convince people, my patients, I try to convince them that I know those things had eyeballs at one time, but there are nutrients in the animal kingdom that are not found in the plant kingdom. But for heaven's sakes, please stay away from the industrialized meat substitutes that are brought to you now by the food industry and coming to, well, they're already arrived at the theater near you. They are found at, I don't know if McDonald's has come out with it yet, but I know that Burger King has, and I know that our Canadian Tim Hortons have come out with that, and a lot of substitutes. I think I even saw it the other day at Harvey's. But you know what? One of the mistakes that scientists make, in my opinion, food scientists make, is that they blame meat for what the bun does. The sandwich, it's not the meat in a sandwich that will give you, because they always say, you Google it and you'll see, well, red meat is associated with high levels of cancer. Well, I'll tell you, every study that's ever shown that can easily be debunked, because they are always studies that are done on questionnaires. Okay, what did you eat last week? What did you eat 3 months ago? What did you eat a year ago? Gee, I can't remember what I had last night. Never mind what I can remember what I had a week ago. So they blame bacon. They blame bacon and they blame eggs for what the sugars are doing. Okay? And that's brought to you by the cereal companies. It's Kellogg's and others that are, they're blaming butter for what margarine does. And guys, look, I'm passionate about it, but I just want to emphasize that. Again, if you are a vegan or vegetarian, just understand here's what you're missing that is only found in the plant kingdom, okay? And there are a profile of amino acids that are the building blocks of your body that come from proteins in your diet are essential, and you just don't get certain amino acids in the vegetable or plant kingdom. They're just not there, okay? Popeye did not get strong by plants, okay? Now, Popeye lied to us because he said he was eating spinach. And I'm not saying spinach is no good for you. What I am saying is that you don't get the profile of amino acids in spinach. Then you get, so what Popeye was really eating was meat. And he gave credit to spinach when he should have been giving credit to steak. Okay? They both start with an S, but they're two completely different foods. And you know what? Bring me a steak, folks, and bring me the best plants that you can eat. And most people will pick broccoli or spinach or whatever, which, again, am I saying it's no good for you? Of course it's good for you. But what I'm saying is, it ain't meat. It ain't meat. So you need to substitute. Here are some of the things that I want you to think about that you will need to substitute with if you're only eating from the plant kingdom. Remember, there's two kingdoms. If you're eating plants and plants only, then if you're a vegetarian, you might have a little bit of dairy, right? Because you're going to have vegetarians can eat eggs, which is great. And they can eat cheese. I don't know if they do, but they can. And vegans will have no dairy. And to me, it's a mistake, and you need to substitute these foods, especially if you are vegan. Now, if you're a vegetarian, there's two things that you're missing, and vegan for sure. Hem iron, I call it hem iron. Tony Jr. says it's heme iron, Heme. I like the Hemi engine in the Dodge trucks, so I say heme iron or hemi iron, and he says heme iron. Okay, so we have an argument over that, but I'm right as usual. And you don't get it. You don't get the bioavailable iron that you need from the plant kingdom. It's not in there, guys. Now you can get iron, and I know that. You can have blackstrap molasses and get some iron in there, but you're not getting heme or hemi iron. It's just not in there. You need to eat it in red meat. It's not found even in chicken. And I know that you ladies love chicken. And chicken is good because it's a protein, but it's not red meat. And secondly, B12, okay? One of the biggest tragedies in the world today, in my opinion, is the lack of B12. Now, you guys know me. If I was to pick two vitamins that I could go into every senior home and give to every vegetarian and every vegan that I know, I would give you B12. Why? Because B12 is not in the plant kingdom. And the amount of B12 for you vegetarians that eat eggs, The amount of B12 in eggs is not enough to feed a mouse. Mice cannot live off of the B12 that is found in eggs. So eggs are wonderful. You know me. If you want to look at a video that I did online, Facebook video that I did, that it's received, I think it's 260,000 views, is the video I did on eggs. So I love eggs. I eat eggs. You can eat 100 eggs a week. It'll only be good for you. So one of the things that you're missing if you're a vegan or a vegetarian is heme iron, hemi-iron, B12. For sure. And you need to substitute those. You absolutely need to substitute those two nutrients because your brain will shrink without B12. Your red blood cells will never be normal. The count might be normal, but you will never have normal, full of hemoglobin red blood cells without heme iron. Here's another thing. Only found in the animal kingdom. I'm going to shock you. Cholesterol. Cholesterol has been made the boogeyman by the pharmaceutical and the food industry. You know, the two big conglomerates in society today, especially in the Western world, is the big food industry and the big pharmaceutical industry. They work hand in hand. I think I read something the other day that was interesting. For every congressman, senator in the United States Senate, I love American politics. It's always interesting to me that for every congressman, and there's hundreds of them, and I can't remember how many senators, there's hundreds of senators and hundreds of congressmen in the federal government in Washington. Do you know that for every one of them there are 2 lobbyists from the pharmaceutical industry? And I'm sure it would be very similar to the food industry. They paid lobbyists, 2 for every congressman and senator that is in the U.S. government. They lobby to keep the lies alive. And one of the biggest lies from the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and they've made gazillions of dollars over it, is the lie about cholesterol. Now listen, your body doesn't work without cholesterol. As a matter of fact, God doesn't trust you enough to eat enough cholesterol. That 85% of your cholesterol is made in your liver. Did you know that? Yes. Cholesterol, only 15% comes. And if you don't eat 15% of your cholesterol from food, guess what happens? Your body will make more and more. Oh, doc, my cholesterol is going up. I said, because you're not eating enough cholesterol. That's why your cholesterol is going up. You want your good cholesterol to go up, and if you don't eat it, your body will make more of the bad LDL cholesterol. You need to eat cholesterol. If someone calls you fathead, take it as a compliment. You need cholesterol. Your brain is made up of cholesterol. Your brain is made up of high DHA oil. Guess where you get DHA oil, which is, again, something that you will be low in if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, is the omega-3 DHA. DHA is only found in the animal kingdom. It is not found in plants. Plants are wonderful. But you do not get DHA and you don't get cholesterol. Your body can't live without cholesterol. Cholesterol is FedEx on the highways of your blood vessels. Blaming cholesterol for heart disease is like blaming the police because they're at the crime scene. They're not the bad guys. Of course cholesterol is going to be in your bloodstream. It's FedEx. It's delivering your hormones. You need delivery, and cholesterol makes up your cell wall. Cholesterol makes up your hormones. Your body can't live without cholesterol. Would you get away from the fact that cholesterol is the boogeyman? It's not the boogeyman. There's been a whole class of medication, statin drugs, and I get it asked every day, as much as I preach it. I've been preaching it for so many years, I sound like a broken record. But cholesterol is not at the root of heart disease. Did you hear me? It's not at the root of heart disease. You can have 100 eggs a week and eat bacon and eggs and cheese, and you will not make dangerous cholesterol. The bad fat in your body is triglycerides, not cholesterol. Did you hear me? It's triglycerides, and triglycerides come from sugar. So to my vegan friends and my wonderful vegetarian friends, listen to me. You need cholesterol. If you don't eat animal products, you at least get the DHA in your body. You need to take, and like my vegan, some of my vegetarian friends will have fish and not, but fish got eyeballs. Fish have eyeballs. Oh, I know. I get excited. And here's a couple of other things. Here's some things that are not real. They're not found in any significant amount at all. Not enough for a mouse. And that is CoQ10, your heart. You want to have a strong heart? Eat more cholesterol. Eat more eggs, meat, and cheese. Do you know what glutathione is? Glutathione is a master antioxidant. Your body needs glutathione. Your body makes glutathione from eggs, meat, and cheese. It's like Velcro in your bloodstream, taking out the toxins. Glutathione, you'll never have a healthy immune system without glutathione. You need glutathione. You need L-arginine. You need L-carnitine. You need glycine. Your immune system, again, is another one doesn't work, and this is why I love bone broth. Guys, listen. You need to understand. Stay away from those food substitutes made in the laboratory, foods like Meatless. Oh, it drives me insane. Meatless, Craze. And I just want to end this podcast by talking about 5 signs that you're not getting enough of the things that I talked to you about. Okay, 5 signs, maybe 6. But let's just talk about this. If you don't get enough B12, if you don't get enough heme iron, if you don't get enough CoQ10, glutathione, the carnitine, the L-arginine, the glycine that I talked to you about, the cholesterol that you need, you are going to have brittle hair and nails. These are signs. You're going to be sarcopenic, which is you're going to be more frail. It's going to be harder for you to build muscle. You're going to be weaker. Your immune system won't, where you'll be more susceptible to all the, not only the cold, but the flu bugs and everything else, because your protein are the animal protein are the building blocks, those amino acids for your antibodies. Your immunity, you need these. So just understand that if you're losing muscle, these are signs that you're in trouble already, and you need to make sure you're using some substitutes like bone broth or whatever to get all of your collagen. And collagen, protein, the best protein in the world is collagen. Your bones. If your bones, like osteoporosis, is another sign that you're not getting enough protein. Your bones are made up. People think of calcium. Calcium is so stinking overrated, guys, because it's not calcium. It's protein. Protein is the king. And there are certain proteins that are better than other proteins. And so sarcopenia and bone and why do we see so much today osteoporosis? It's because people are cutting back on their proteins because they think, well, and even for kidney disease, I hear that all the time. I hear that at least once a day in my office. Oh, doc, my doctor said to cut back on protein because my kidneys. It's not protein. It's sugar. It's sugar. You got it? Okay. So thanks for listening. See you next time.
You've reached the end of another Doctor is In podcast with your hosts, Dr. Martin Jr. and Sr. Be sure to catch our next episode, and thanks for listening.